everybody. How are
Hello.
we?
Hi, Lee.
Hello.
Ruth, Stephen, Navendu, all all looking very healthy today. All, at least those people that I can see on the call, you know, no pressure for anyone else to turn on their webcam or anything. How's the weather, Ruth?
It's been sunny here like all week, but it's quite cold here now. Like the breeze, there was heavy rainfall yesterday, so the weather is kind of cool. And I'm close to the water, so there's a whole lot of breeze, and like I'm in the water, so it's quite comfortable.
Nice. Yeah, not all of us have the luxury of working outside like Ruth. That's nice. All right. Well, Ruth is frozen for us, but I'll share that here in Austin, it's a winter wonderland. So it was raining yesterday, it froze, and many of the trees around here have cracked. Very large
In the
branches.
You have power outages and all that?
Just a blip.
Mm-hmm.
There was warnings of well, I guess it was twice that there were warnings, but they were real quick. I think Stephen.
Oh, sorry, I cut off earlier.
Yeah, we missed it. Yeah. Power lines, like the power poles themselves, I think here we're supposed to freeze. They're not. I guess these weren't treated for freezing weather, so some of those were expected to come down.
See, usually it's the tree branches that get weighted down and they crash on the power lines and that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, hey, it's Friday, Layer 5 community meeting. It is February 12th, 2021. We've got a decent agenda lined up. We've got a couple of announcements. Let me share the meeting minutes. And let me ask, before we get rolling, anyone on the call today that's new, that hasn't been on the community meeting before?
This is my first community call, but I've joined other meetings.
Nice. Yeah. Anish, good of you to call that out. Actually, if you don't mind, just to do a quick intro, I'm sure that not everyone has gotten a chance to get to know you.
So hi, I'm Anish. I'm currently a final year student at IIT Indore. Apart from that, I've been in the selection of Layer 5 for some months, but I've recently started contributing. Mainly, I'm contributing to the Mesh CTL currently, and I think I'm making some changes that are impactful.
Yeah, Anish, I guess you're a lurker no more, or rather, yeah, no. I remember us having some initial conversations around Get Nighthawk, just as it was sort of spinning up, and we're going to talk about Get Nighthawk a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know that I've been able to. I'm hoping that you might even be able to share a little bit today on some of the impact that you've been making.
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
Beautiful. Okay, last question for you. So IIT Indore, does that mean that you're an Indorian? And I'm not trying to make a silly joke.
No, actually, so in India, there are multiple. So IIT stands for Indian Institute of Technology. So there are multiple colleges of that. So Indore is just basically one of them. I'm not in Indore. I'm from actually Delhi.
Gotcha.
In India.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, there's a bunch of Jodhpurians running around, and And actually a lot of almost all of the IITs, I think, are represented in the, turns out there's a lot of intelligent young people running around India studying Golang and Rust and other things. Also quite a few of the same happening in Nigeria and some other places in Africa as well. So it was really nice that, yeah, anyway, good. Anish, we'll hear from you a little bit more in a few. Okay, anybody else new today? I'm having a hard time pulling up the participants list. Cool. This is also the moment in which, if anyone has a topic that you'd like to put onto the agenda, now's a good time to get it inserted. I don't know if we'll make it through the whole agenda. Maybe. And also now's a good time to slap your name in if you haven't already. There's a few other folks who've joined in the community this last week since last we met. A couple of people who are users, a couple of people who are, I think, interested in internships, and that's great. So be sure to welcome new folks as they come in. I'm looking at 20 or more of you who are here on the call that have been around a long time. So part of your responsibility of being a good community citizen is to be kind to others, be welcoming, be warm. Although it may seem this way, it's actually not a requirement to make bad jokes, but you're welcome to. In other announcements, IstioCon is coming up. So it's the first conference dedicated to Istio. There have been other conferences dedicated to service meshes. Service Mesh Day, which has turned into Service Mesh Con. I chuckled when I said there have been other conferences dedicated to service meshes other than Istio, because there was a lot of contention about the first Service Mesh Day. It was really just people representing Istio, and that upset some people. And so, yeah. Anyway, there's a first IstioCon. So, hey, we'll be presenting the workshop at the conference. So, by the way, if you haven't taken or read through or tried to use the workshops that we have here in the community, I recommend that you do if you're looking to learn more about Kubernetes and service meshes. They're self-paced labs that you can go through. Some of the times that we've given the workshops, those times have been recorded. So I'll put a link to the workshops there, and yeah, I encourage you to step through them. It will help you get familiar with Meshery as well. So in other news, I didn't get a chance to tally up all of the plus ones, but I think it was quite evident from the response that was given to a call for vote on a nomination for Utkarsh Srivastava to kind of officially wear the hat as a core maintainer here. I received any number of private remarks and comments that that I will keep to myself, because I don't need Utkarsh's head being any bigger than it is. We just leave all his brain's big enough. So we'll I don't. So yeah, I'll keep those comments to myself. Anyway, Utkarsh, congrats. The hard work pays off. You've been consistently impactful and significantly impactful across like almost all the components, and that's a long list. It's a pretty cool thing. It means that there's a lot of trust for the things that you're doing, and you're moving at a quick pace, despite holding down what I understand is a respectable GPA, quite respectable GPA. So kudos to you. That's pretty cool. other item. Oh, on this same line of thought, we're going to talk a little bit about Get Nighthawk today, one of the projects, and relatively new. A few contributors have already come to bear. It's been quite lovely. There's some front end work, there's some back end work, there's some of both. We will more than likely be talking about more people being nominated or sort of stepping forth into a maintainer role for Get Nighthawk. There's a particular individual, Vinayak Sharma, who we'll hear from a little bit later, hopefully today, that is getting dangerously close. I would say, Vinayak, this is your fair warning. If you continue on this path, that may be the end of you. Okay, those are the announcements. Anyone else have announcements? Maybe things that they've seen here recently that not necessarily here, but I mean things that have happened interesting in the tech community. I'm trying to think. I don't know that oh, actually, yeah, I've got two. So we've been asked to be program chairs for Cloud Native. You know what? It's actually, I think, one word. Cloud Native Day. Awesome. WASM? Yes, WASM, WebAssembly. If you don't know WebAssembly, then you're just like everyone else here on the call. We've been working on that. I don't know if Pranav is on. Anyway, we've done, anyway, so we'll talk more about this as it gets closer. We have done and are doing things with WebAssembly. Meshri does some things with WebAssembly. So that's pretty neat. Glad that that'll be kind of the first cloud native oriented WebAssembly conference. There's also another conference that's come forth. I don't recollect if it's Cloud Native Day. I think it is, and it's called, I think it's just called Rust. I have to go look it up. But two recent technology specific conferences being announced. I expect that they're 1 day long deals. It's possible that some of you might speak there. So reach out if I can help. Or we will definitely be submitting. We'll be presiding on the program committee here as well. So. Okay, speaking of Layer 5 and all of us participating in things, Ruth, do you want to talk to us about She Code Africa?
Yeah, sure. Am I audible? Okay. So I had to put up my video because people are passing. It's a park, so yeah. This program is a program. She Code Africa is actually like an NGO here in Africa that helps women contribute in their tech journey. Contribute. They put up programs. So a program is coming up by She Code Africa. That's sort of like an open source boot camp where organizations sign up projects, and a mentor from the organizations attached to the participants, and the mentor takes through the whole contributing to the particular project. Right, so like Lee is showing up the contribution timeline for the program, right? So Layer 5 is willing to participate in this boot camp. So we are putting up a call for mentors. So if you are interested in doing this, in mentoring, so we have a little Google form we have put up for mentors. If you're interested, please kindly fill it, and pick the projects you want to mentor for. There are a whole lot of projects listed out here. You can pick the project you want to mentor for. It's going to be an interesting program. It's a way to diversify contributions in open source, and bring in more women to contribute to open source. And Layer 5 is also going to get a diverse contributions from different women in Africa. So please, this you can get involved by filling in. If you want to be a mentor for this program, you can get involved by filling in this form, and we'll do well to get in touch with you. So that's it from my end. If you have any questions, you can ask on Slack, via direct message, or on the general channels.
Fantastic. I really encourage everyone to give it some consideration. You always learn something when you're trying to help others. Um, Also, like I've said this for about the last 15 years, I think. Actually, it goes back about 20 years. Some really nice individuals in Africa. I know that's a massively big statement, but so a great opportunity to spend some time not only learning, helping others, but also with um, some genuinely nice people. So, on the same topic of programs, internship programs, so the Linux Foundation's LFX and the Google Summer of Code, both of these programs, their timelines are starting to ramp up. So first it would be the Linux Foundation, LFX. So we'll be getting together some project descriptions and beginning to entertain interns. So we need to go write this down, but a lot of people ask how to participate. Well, how do they best align their?
Currently,
Mhm.
will Layer 5 participate in Google season of docs? I think that's
Yeah.
up to
Yeah.
GSOD.
Yep, that's a great one to list down. I haven't looked at the timeline there most recently, which means that we should go look at the timeline.
I think it's up for organizations to. I think so. I think I saw a tweet or so.
Thank you for mentioning it. Yeah, we do. There's a lot of things that we want to do with docs, a lot of things, and not just written docs either. Some of what was accomplished last time for the last Google season of docs internship that was done was around interactive labs. Pretty neat what Shriti accomplished there. So, all right, on the next topic, actually, Ruth, again, you want to talk about the community handbook that's
Sure.
initiated?
Okay. So I was also putting the link for the new one, but I think I was having some issues doing that. Yeah, yeah, for this one. Yeah, so uh, this project, or this documentation project, is just a way to curate all the resources as regarding community, and putting them all together, and putting in everything about Layer 5 community in one space, right? So that's like a wrap of what the Layer 5 community handbook is about. So I think Lee mentioned we can put this, although I have some questions, Lee, we can put this on the new generation site, right? But I think for a start, would want to, I'll try to make it in a document, just have a table of content, and Lee is doing a great work with arranging this. and also for moderating too. I forgot to mention that. So so this community handbook is a way to get together all the resources about the Layer 5 community, right? So it's going to the first start here is just checking for repetitions across all the guides. We have so many guides here. There are five tries to make things so simple for contributors and beginners. So the first start here is getting together all the guides, both the newcomers guide, contributing guidelines, and trying to check for repetitions and bringing them together. So I would start working on this next week, but um anybody is free to contribute to this, because I feel it's really going to be helpful. So we just have once a contributor comes in, we have a handbook, and it just points to that contributor, oh hey, you can check out our handbook for all the things you need to know about the Layer 5 community, right? So anybody willing to work on this with me, you can send me a message on Slack, and we can start working on everything. But that's all about this. I still have the structure is not yet certain. I'm still trying to work on how to make the structure, but it's just a rough start for now. And more ideas, you can put in your ideas via voice or chat, or even on the doc is open to anyone to edit. So ideas are welcome, and yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Yeah. Anyone on the call? Does this immediately strike an interest for you? It's content and an effort that will be highly used. The documents that we have today, we have kind of a cross between a few different Google Docs that are welcome people, that give an overview of our repositories, some that are oriented specifically for first timers, things around signing off on your commits, things around how to build Jekyll, how to work with Gatsby, how to get started with Golang and MeshReCTL, and just there's a broad collection of a lot of this that's been written down in individual places, and they should probably continue to persist in those individual places. Some of those, especially in like a contributors.md and many of the repositories, but amassing those into a single organized, conveniently referenced location, really helpful. Just it will be sort of on the tip of the tongue of many of you as you go to welcome people into the community. So any effort that people put in here will certainly be used by a lot of folks. Good deal. Ruth is spearheading that, so please talk to Ruth. A quick, you know what? Let me take this next topic and we'll put it down below. Next up, anybody have any comments on the programs, internships, or the community handbook before we move on? Else, Anish is up. Anish,
Yeah, I will just share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
And you're so thoughtful. You increased the font size. It's
Yeah. So recently we have made some changes to MeshReCTL. I think that would help for the people that are using in production, and if they want stability. So we have been adding the support to the MeshReCTL to correctly download specific versions of your Docker Compose files, so that you can easily work with specific versions if you want to, or if you want to just stay on the edge or something, or even you can configure multiple types of your context and easily interchange in between them. So firstly, currently this has been, added into the machine reset, but it will be extended to other commands as well. So currently, if you in the newer changes, if you do a reset command, what you can do is what you will find is that Meshri CDL is able to identify your context and the channel and the version, and based on that, it would fetch your correct Docker Compose file from the GitHub API. Apart from that, what we have also done is added support for temporary contexts, so you can just easily pass a flag and write your context. So this context that I've written, my context, should also be present in your config file, which is here. So I've just duplicated another context, named it my context, and I can simply use it for a single command by adding the flag of -c. So now if I reset, it will detect my current context as the one that I passed with the flag. Apart from that, I can easily, if I change my channel to edge, basically, what will happen is now it will, if I reset, it will download the latest version from the master branch as well. So it gives us flexibility to work on different versions if you want to. Yeah, so that's all. Let me know if I've missed something, Navindu.
I know people have feedback and questions here. And
Looks great to me. I mean, I just want to trace through it, but definitely taking advantage of the YAML and the branches and the various flags that you're passing in and out. So it's a way to do it.
yeah, one of the considerations here, actually, maybe I won't speak to Navendu. Do you want to talk about air gaps deployments and part of the consideration around compose files and Kubernetes manifests?
Yeah, so like down the road, we might need to make measure like give measure air gaps. So currently we need to pull the Docker Compose file and the Kubernetes manifest files from GitHub in the time we run. So yeah, uh, we haven't given any thought to this currently, but we might need to set up a local registry where the user can work on it without having an internet connection. Mm, yeah.
Yeah. I'll toss in another consideration that I know that that Anish and Navendu and Anirudh had to work through here on the system reset command. Well, is that, well, I'm going to confuse people, I think, if we go into this. I'll just say that there are two release channels for Meshri, a stable release channel and an edge release channel, and hopefully they're self-descriptive in their difference. There had been some cross-stream, or we had been crossing release streams accidentally with this command. And it wasn't necessarily the way that the system was designed. It wasn't necessarily taking into account that when you went to reset your local compose file, that you would be doing it with, I think this is what Anish was saying. Maybe I'm saying it slightly different, but that you'd be resetting it with the appropriate version, with the appropriate release channel and version. And so the system originally had been designed to highly encourage people to update their Meshri deployments, like as and when a new Meshri adapter was added, that if they were to do a reset of their compose file, that new adapter would show up. There's a Meshery CTL system update command as well that will update Meshery server. It will update the Meshery adapters. What it won't update though is the Meshery CTL client, the local binary that people have on their systems. It's possible to do that. It's a bit of work considering that people may have installed the command line client with a package manager like Homebrew or Scoop, or they downloaded the binary directly and specifically for their OS and their architecture. And it would be wonderful if we arrived at a state one day where the Meshery CTL system update command updated sort of all of those components: Meshery server, the adapters, the Meshery CTL, the client. Fortunately, Meshery CTL doesn't really need to think too much about the Meshery operator that gets deployed in Kubernetes. Meshery operator, it runs mesh sync. Meshery server itself is responsible for that consideration. And now that I've totally digressed into considerations around Meshery upgrades, I'll put a link to a slide that talks about each of the Meshery components and how they're like considerations around when they're upgrade, how to upgrade, or their versions and how they should be upgraded. It'd be good to get all of your eyeballs on that because it's, we may have missed some things. So I'll tie off this conversation briefly with by pointing people to the Meshery architecture deck. I think this slide has been transcribed to the Meshery docs as well. So I think you could consume it either here or in the docs, either on slide 14 or in the docs. I'll just put a link and we won't have to talk about it more. Okay, thank you, Anish. Nice. All right, next topic up. I just now put Utkarsh's name on there. And so I don't know if Utkarsh, we're really not, you have demoed, I think in the past, a bit about the experimental command, Meshery CTL patterns, and so, but I know it's a little bit of a complex thought there. And so I figured we would just highlight, I don't think that people have seen, so now that I'm taking over your topic. So Utkarsh, do you want to just introduce this to people again, high level, and we'll leave them with the links so that they can participate if they want to.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So basically we've been working on service mesh patterns. That is, you can, basically you have the ability to submit one or more YAML files, most probably one. I don't think you'll be needing more. And you can specify details of your application deployments, not only application deployments, things like, okay, let me share one of the demo parent files. So I think I'm able to. Screen is visible, I think. Screen is visible, right?
It is.
Yeah, so basically the idea is that you can specify everything about your deployments, about your cluster in a single YAML file and specify all the best practices as you want in a single YAML file. So here you are saying that, that this is a demo file, you can do a lot more with, you would be able to eventually do a lot more with this single YAML file. But right now this YAML file is saying that okay, I'm going to basically provisionize the service mesh. I'm going to do a Canary rollout. I'm also going to deploy Prometheus as the add-on. And you also have the ability to specify that what should be the execution order. Some of the deployments would be parallel, some of them would be sequential, depending upon how you are actually basically how you are describing the workflow to be. So here you are specifying that Grafana should be deployed after Prometheus is deployed, while Prometheus will be deployed once SVC and Istio have been deployed. So you have the capability to deploy to basically describe not extremely complex, but fairly complex workflows in here. This is a basic idea that you can describe a lot in just a single very short YAML file, unlike basically how we actually do with Kubernetes. That is, you have to deploy a lot of basically apply a lot of YAMLs, which are really huge in size. So that's it. So in case anyone has any questions or if this parent file confuses something. So.
Karsh, like to the extent that this YAML goes on, well, it's funny. This YAML here, it goes on for a while. It describes a whole lot. Comparatively, if you were to look at the amount of YAML that takes in between Kubernetes, the service meshes themselves, Prometheus and the rest, we're talking many, many, many files of YAML, of manifest. So this is very much so summarizes a lot into a single file. I think many of you are aware, we talked about this a little bit before. There's well, there'll be probably either a section on the Layer5 IO site or its own site dedicated to service mesh patterns. These patterns are being put into a repository now on GitHub. They'll be released as part of an O'Reilly book called Service Mesh Patterns. And so actually, as of yesterday, there'll be an early release of that book, the first couple of chapters. I don't know when it'll come out, in a couple of weeks maybe. And it'll be like 3 chapters long. One of the chapters talks about nothing but meshery, the whole thing. So look out for your work in that book, I guess, in that early release. I'll sneak I'll sneak a copy for folks here. Get something you can hang on your walls. Utkarsh, so to the extent that this goes on for a while, is there plans to visualize, all these relationships and?
Yeah. So eventually, this is still like work in progress. So you would be able to basically convert this entire pattern file into cytoscape notation, not basically mesh map notation. And the power of it would be that now here basically you're mentioning what services you want. This is all text, but in mesh map you would be able to visualize it. You would be able to see notes, and basically it would be entire. There would be basically you would be able to achieve interconversion between parent file and mesh map representations. You can do stuff in mesh map, convert it to parent file. You can do stuff in parent file and convert it to mesh map. And in terms of functionality, both would be completely similar. So if you want to use a CLI, go for it. Parent file would work fine. If you are a UI person, mesh map is your tool. In terms of functionality, both would be completely equivalent because the data conversion would be seamless. You won't lose any metadata or something like that. So definitely this will be completely visualized. All the work still work in progress.
Does everyone feel that silence? Do you feel how comfortable that is? That's like, it's not awkward. It's what you can do when you're all friends. Which is comments, questions, feedback for Utkarsh. little known fact, Utkarsh has portions of various JSON schema RFPs memorized. Warning, do not engage him in a conversation about JSON. Cool. Thank you, Utkarsh. Thank you for letting me harass you as well. The next topic up is from Vinayak.
Hello, am I audible?
You are.
Just a second, I will share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Got it. Yep, it is.
Okay, so basically I've been working on a page slash form. When should I deploy a service mesh? It's basically a sort of a Airtable form in which the user can fill in these range sliders based on how much the requirement is for them to need a service mesh. And we have linked up this form with Firebase. So all the data stored over here is basically going to go to the Firebase, which I can quickly show over here. So you see everything that gets inputted in over here goes to the Firebase. Basically, the next thing that we have to do in this is to link that Firebase to a Google Sheet or to some sort of mailer so that we can provide feedback to the user. So this is one of the things that I've been working on. There are a couple of things that we need to take care of in this page. For example, this tooltip is not aligned with the range slider, and this arrow needs a gradient fill. So if there is some sort of suggestion anyone has regarding the UI of this page or the functionality, it's most welcome. The second thing that I've been working on is the Get Nighthawk page, and it's eventually coming together. We have a Figma design for this page, and Yash and Chinmay, these two people have started contributing on this project. We have a couple of issues listed down in the Get Nighthawk repo with the tag of site at the starting. So if anyone wants to pick up a issue, feel free to do so because there are plenty of sort of good first issues which is good if someone is has just started contributing to open source. And the project base is in Jekyll, which is fairly simple to learn, like basic HTML and CSS. Um, that's most of the things that I had to talk about.
Nice. Hey, if the when should I deploy a service mesh question, it's an extraordinarily popular question. As a matter of fact, I think there was a newcomer in the community who was asking a similar question just a day or two ago. The question was like, hey, why do I? It wasn't so much it is the same question. Actually, we probably need to rephrase this question, which is his question was, why should I use a service mesh? Like, what's it going to actually provide me? I understand there's these things, but like, what else? And that page should be helping answer that question. Anyone who's ever going to use a service mesh will have that question. And so we expect a lot of people to interact with it. And it's one of those nice and juicy sort of it depends answers. But yeah, so I'm excited about it. The second project, the Get Nighthawk project, are Yash or any of the other folks who are focused on Get Nighthawk on? So I know Rodolfo, Abhishek, Otto, we're probably looking at one or two of the people who've been focused on Layer5 NG, maybe coming over and helping a bit at some point. But Okay, yeah, the others aren't on. Anyway, one of the things to add to what Vinayak is saying about Get Nighthawk, that project, one of the things that needs to be done is to have a logo for the project. And so at some point we'll be calling for a vote in the community about, here's a couple of designs. What do you think? Put, place your vote. And these are a couple of the early designs. We're actually missing one of them in here, but you could see it where you could see the shell-like logo that was Vinayak was just showing a minute ago. So yeah, so anyway, sneak preview there. What do we have next? Well, we have a topic on a call for volunteers. What do you know? Here's something that has been like nails on the chalkboard for me, which is the Meshery's APIs. It's REST-based APIs. There's some disorganization, or a lot of disorganization in their structure, how they're grouped, and there's less thought given to those than there should be probably at this point. There's no prior contract or commitment that we have with necessarily with users just yet, because Meshery is at a young version number. So now's, before as we sort of start to track toward various release milestones that would get us from all the way up to a 1.0, we'd want to, now's the right time to restructure these. Is there anyone that's interested in organizing these and putting an opinion on how they think the API endpoints should look like? I'll give an example. I'll give an example to the extent that it's abstract what I'm talking about. Something like tests, test slash. There's a number of these out here. There's some ugly things, kind of like this, that this isn't exactly what's out there, but there's things like this where we'll have the same noun, like a performance test, and we'll have two different endpoints, one with an S on the end of it and one without. And it's time for a cleanup. Does this interest anyone? This is, you would need to be able to read Golang. You don't have to necessarily write Golang. This is more about architecture design, more about being able to organize and reason over the APIs. See me if you're interested, or see one of the other maintainers if you're interested. Good deal. Hey, next week, so I was intending to have Jim Bagwadia on the call today to present, to do a demo and overview of Caverno. And the week got away from me. Too many other things going on. I forgot to get him scheduled. So we'll look to confirm him for next week. Why are we going to look at Caverno and spend community time to do that? Well, because eventually we'll have a workflow engine and a policy engine inside of Meshery. And we should do some diligence about what those technologies are available and which ones we should look to use and which communities we should look to partner with. And so Caverno is one of those. Another one is the Open Policy Agent, or OPA. I won't write OPA here just not to upset Jim. As, we'll be very open with him about the fact that we're evaluating. Okay, so that's coming up next week. Along these same lines, So I've talked about this a little bit with everyone along these same lines. It's not just a policy engine that Meshery needs, but it's also a workflow engine. When you look at this diagram altogether, it's kind of a lot. If you were to, this is the way that I would look at this slide if I were you. We're saying, Meshery is a service mesh management plane. And these are the large components. These are the large pieces of portions of functionality that would be in that management plane, that would be inside of Meshery. We do a lot of talking about Meshery CTL, a client, Meshery server, Meshery's load generators, Meshery's adapters. A lot of those are sort of represented here about doing multi-mesh lifecycle management. That's a whole mouthful, what I just said. And if that's only represented here, oh my goodness, there's a lot more to do. That's true. We were talking about Cloud Native Day Rust a moment ago and Cloud Native Day WASM earlier in this call. Our efforts in that space are represented here with Rust-based or C++ based Envoy filters. A lot of things, I won't talk about all the things we're going to do there, but anyway, point is, there's a lot of things to orchestrate and to schedule and to, I guess I'll just use the word orchestrate again, but to pump through a workflow engine. So we'll need to identify a good workflow engine and put one in. So the same thing goes for a policy engine. So Kyverno is one of those, is a policy engine. And so is a open policy agent. And so there's other choices out there. But anyway, this slide gives you context for why we're talking about a policy engine and why also sort of in the same vein, we're talking about a workflow engine and evaluating those. There's a deck, a separate deck that it contains some analysis for a workflow engine and a policy engine. There've been a couple of calls for participation, and that's, I guess, kind of what I'm doing now. I'm also just announcing that hopefully Jim will join us and speak with us. If you don't, Jim's an old friend of mine. He used to deliver my product at Cisco, and he's gone off and founded his own company some time ago called Nirmata. So they have a cloud management platform. All right, we're about 5 minutes out. I've got couple other things to maybe talk on before we do. Items from anyone else? One item that I sort of skipped over that wasn't highlighted here is, as Utkarsh was walking through the patterns, which are, by the way, just extraordinarily exciting, that part of the technology that's being used to facilitate those patterns and to do a bunch of JSON things is an open specification called Open Application Model, or OAM. So I bring this up because we're talking about partnering with other communities or partnering with other open source projects to accomplish a larger mission. And there's an example of doing so with each of the service mesh projects. I mean, we do a lot of that, but here's another up and coming example. I don't know if all of you were on the call about a month ago. Ryan Zhang, a maintainer of Open Application Model, had come and presented to the community call, presented to us. And in that time, we prototyped and explored what an integration and use of this specification format means to Meshery. And I think we're concluding that what it means is service mesh patterns, or it enables service mesh patterns. So there's more for us to do with this community in specific, some code for us to exchange, some presentations and webinars and other things to do. So there's a couple of individuals, a couple of maintainers in this community, Ryan Zhang and Li Zhang, have been really warm and welcoming. Just very, very nice to interact with those guys. They have a bi-weekly community call. So every couple of weeks, it's open as well. I mean, if people want to understand this spec, like that's a good place to go. Oh, fair warning, specs themselves, kind of like our service mesh performance spec, SMP specs are kind of dry. So, okay, one last item for me, and that is that I don't know that Bart Kalansky has been on this call before, and I don't think he's on today because I didn't give him warning, but there's an item that he's raised his hand to take on, and it's a configuration wizard, a multi-step configuration wizard to be created in Meshery. It was just this last Meshery development call, I believe, we were talking about, well, how Meshery can connect with Grafana and Prometheus and sort of discover them. And the notion that, there's a bit of user interaction that needs to happen, that while Meshery can auto-discover available Prometheus instances, Grafana instances, deployments of your existing service meshes, deployments of your applications, that mesh sync goes out and does all that. And that Meshery can auto-register. I'll put register in quotes because we don't necessarily use that word, I don't think, in the project, but that's absolutely what's happening. And you see those little UI chips that you can click on in Meshery that will test the connection to your Kubernetes cluster, to your Meshery adapters, to your Grafana and Prometheus instances. Well, people's deployments are fairly diverse, and we can make some opinionated decisions that are probably 80% of the time accurate about how it is that people have deployed their infrastructure and how they want for Meshery to be used. But we won't always get that right. Oh, that's too bad. There's tree branches breaking outside. And so having a configuration wizard, like when you install software and you go through this next, you're sort of answering some questions. Kind of like that. We don't need to do that for how to install Meshery. Like that's already being taken care of in Meshery CTL. But once Meshery and the UI is up and Meshery has discovered any number of things in your environment, that's an appropriate time to present someone with a form to kind of step through, a multi-step configuration wizard. So there'll be a design spec that will be created and linked. The doc hasn't been created yet, so anyone that is interested, this will be a React-based thing. Come and participate. You can either participate in what those steps should be, or whatever. Anything else from people today?
So I just wanted to, are we going to discuss on the Layer5 NG?
Josh, yeah, please.
So should I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't leave you much time, Josh.
No issue. So there's nothing more to talk about. So is my screen visible?
It's black. It's blank. Black for. Oh, yep, there it is.
Yeah. So I don't think there are any sections or any pages to left for the implementation for the website, and it's like this. We're just working on bug fixes currently for all the pages. So if you can see on this milestone page, there is no issue left apart from this tracking to GitHub pages. Hello.
There you are.
Yeah. So I just interrupted my connection. Yeah. So as I was talking, we don't have any issues apart from the bug fixes, as you can see in the milestone here. And so you all can just have a visit our website, new website. It is on layer5ng.net, and let us know if there are any issues that we can work upon. Like here I can find the names are not present currently for the Istio and image hub. So like if you find any of these similar issues, then you can just point it out in websites channel or create an issue on the layer5 repo, and we can just fix it out before we go live for this website. Also, I just wanted to ask Lee, the Chinmay had a doubt regarding this section. So, like, can you just clarify what you exactly asked him to do so?
Yeah, well, this section here highlights where Layer5, where the works of the community has been in the news, and one will take off the headline, why is Layer5 so special? And hopefully, we do want to puff our chest and be proud of things that we do, but hopefully it'll just be implicit when people look at the articles. And so this section, and if you scroll down below, there's I'm just below this one. Yeah, here, this sort of talks about how Layer5 is all special as well, and sort of the things that we tend to focus on. But these two could be combined into just a single section. And so, yeah, to the extent that that ends up being a wrapper around two sections or just a single section, either way, in terms of implementation.
Yeah, okay, then I'll just talk to him regarding this. So, yeah, so I think all the other pages are, this is the Meshery page. All of the pages are done for now.
Nice. It represents a lot of people's work. It's a good time to. We are apparently we're 3% away from going live, and so good time to go check it out. Make sure that your work is well represented. I got to tell you, like, I'll be honest. It always irked me when, as an engineer, when I worked my hiney off, and some outbound product manager did a piss poor job of representing my hard work, or it looked like they were taking the glory for that work. That is not what we do here. Neither of those two things. So I encourage you to form an opinion, go take a look at the site, form an opinion, and make sure that it's speaking to what you've done. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just stop my sharing.
Okay, well, hey, that's a wrap for today. Same time next week, we'll hopefully have Jim Bagwadia here. Thank you all. See you all later. Talk to you soon.